Start. Hello, everybody. It's Gina from Etherflow's Healing Podcast. And with me today is the wonderful and magnificent Margo Fraser.
Hi,
She's
everyone.
awesome. She is a plant communicator, a human design expert. She teaches a lot of classes on how to communicate with nature in general and the elementals and the fae and everything. And I was randomly scrolling on YouTube and I found one of her videos and I thought, and her wisdom blew me away, honestly. So, yeah. So with that, this is Margo. Hi, Margo.
Hi, Gina. Well, thanks so much for that introduction. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I will apologize in advance to the listeners. I had a little bit of a cold over Christmas, so you might get the occasional coughing, but we'll still have a great conversation, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. We won't let that stop us. So let's see, Margo, where should we start? Let's start with your kind of like, how did you come into all of this awareness that you have with the plants and nature?
It's been a journey. I've always been connected to nature. I grew up in cottage country in Ontario, Canada, outside of a town. So we lived on the lake, surrounded by forest, and I was always out in nature anytime that I could be. So there was a connection there, but I was also a very sensitive kid, and you get teased a lot, right? And so you start shutting down, and I got into figure skating, and then eventually into speed skating, and you're kind of expected. We think of this nice feminine sport, but boy, you're expected to toughen up, right? You fall a lot on the ice. You kind of, when you're do well at it, you kind of move into the competitive stream. And I see it now totally as not self when I look back at it. But, you start shutting down, right? Your emotions, you start, again, creating this kind of shell to protect yourself. And yet I was always curious about all sorts of things. So, delving into different things in university, I did a kinesiology degree, study of human movement and the body. Oh, cool. And then I had kind of my sports, going through figure skating and speed skating at a high level. I coached speed skating up to Olympic level. And we were always really open. I had kind of I did it as a volunteer, my coaching. And we had a little group, but we were so much more open to different holistic practices and naturopathic practices that were outside of the traditional at that time. This is in the 90s. And it just kept opening myself to it. And there was just a natural progression for me. I was looking at myself. So there was that self-awareness there. When I'm in a relationship with someone else, like, what's going on there when things don't work out? What's my part in it? It's easy to point the finger at the other person, but I remember listening, could have been Dr. Phil or someone saying, you're pointing a finger at one person, there's, 4 pointing back at you.
And you actually took that information. You didn't just let it pass by.
Exactly. Wow. I went, okay, what's my part? And I started following someone named Allison Armstrong to start, who does a lot of work on partnership with people, the understanding between the male and the female, and that kind of progressed into watching her on telesummits. That opened me up to seeing all sorts of different intuitives on telesummits. And I ended up connecting with a woman named Crystal Hughes, who at the time was running this Academy of the Soul to help people open up their intuitive capacities.
Okay.
About the same time, I found someone within that community who was really interested in human design, and she did a reading for me. And I was like, how does it know all this stuff about me? Like, it was just so accurate. Even things maybe I hadn't uncovered about myself yet. It was like, I knew it. I knew that was part of me. So I had this parallel track of going through the Academy for the Soul, opening up my intuitive capacities, letting go of all those outdated beliefs and protections that I'd put up for myself. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that know this, right? You're like, I got to protect myself. where society is so much about like quelling the emotions and not understanding that they're beautiful messengers for us, you know, that we can access the wisdom of them, opening up my intuitive capacities, which, you know, had been there, but had been shut down. And I think a lot of people go through this journey, and always the one thing that I always had in my life was a deep, deep connection to nature. You know, going off on canoe trips for a couple of weeks where you're not around technology at all, that again enhances that opening of the intuitive capacities. At the same time, I was continuing my studies in human design, going to the deepest depths that you could go. So much there. It really provides you with an operating manual for yourself. How do you make decisions that are correct for you? That's what I love about design. Really bringing awareness to the conditioning that we're exposed to, right? We've all been conditioned by our families, by societies, and so on. And it helps you to just start releasing those, but also to have a way to know yourself, to know how you do make decisions that are correct for you. And it's not from the mind, right? We've been so conditioned to make mental decisions, pros and cons lists, right? And all that kind of stuff. But your body has it within you to
It's true.
support, you know, well, everybody, it's a little bit different. Like yours is, Gina gave me her birth information so I could run her chart. And what really supports your decision-making process is feeling. Like if it doesn't feel good to you, it's probably not going to work out.
Right.
Know?
And I recently learned that too. Like I feel like I went through life at least 40 some years not using that awesome tool and just making these messed up decisions based on, you know, the pros and the cons and like, where will this get me in life and who will, you know what I mean? And
I'm trying to be strategic, right? And
trying to be, but just having decisions blow up in your face. And now, and it's not every time, you know, it's still a work in progress, but like big decisions, I'll go and I'll just feel into my heart. Like, does this resonate? Does this feel good? And if it does, if I feel like an expansion or a warmth or a tingling, then I'll go with it.
Yeah. And your process to reduce resistance in your life is wait to respond, which is what most people have. You're a manifesting generator type, we would call it. Wait to respond. You're not here to initiate. You're not here to force.
Right.
There's always.
I know. I've noticed that too. Like when I try to just bulldoze my way into situations or into jobs or whatever, if I try to like really push it, it does not go well.
Yeah.
So,
and then decision making, the feeling will support, but it's what we call a sacral response. There, you will be energized. You will be enlivened in a way, you know, when something's correct for you. But you do have a genetic trait. It's the trait of saying yes. And so probably when you look back at your life, there's a yes, I'll do that, right? Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. And you just like burn yourself out.
Yes, completely. Yeah. I feel like ever since I first noticed that when I was a teenager, and it was, you know, I was kind of like a little rebel, you know, I would do stuff that, you know, I probably shouldn't have. But for some reason, I always had this like, try more experiences, just try it, have more experiences. And so I would say yes to all of these like, things I probably shouldn't have said yes to. So thank you. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Like kind of hardwired into me.
Yeah. And very keen intuitive awareness. Now, intuitive awareness, that trait in human design is different than we would call it in the spiritual community. When we talk about intuition in the spiritual community, we're including all the clair senses, right? Our clear knowing, our clear seeing, our clairvoyance, our clear hearing, and so on. In human design, when we talk about it, it's an acoustic knowing. And that's very strong in your chart as well. The ability to, you'll hear like the frequencies under the words that are being spoken.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, those words are coming out of that person's mouth, but they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
The frequencies
Yeah,
underneath
it's
are
like
not.
I always sorry if I
No,
interrupt.
go. Yeah.
Um it's like I would always interpret it as your tone. Like your tone
Yes.
is gross. Like your tone is bitchy or whatever. And yeah, I've always been really sensitive to that. That's true.
Yeah. So I would say when you're listening to someone, you might just want to gently, just a little bit, it's through the right ear that this information comes in. The whole body actually takes it in as well, but the right ear is associated with it. So, you can even just tilt your head a little bit to the right, like it's in the now, tones off, on the phone with someone, go to the right ear. It's like, okay,
That's
and that's
great.
going to support that. Being in your flow, you've got the channel of rhythm, which is all about being in your flow. So if you ever feel
Mhm.
like like things are just out of flow, it's you're
Yeah.
not in your flow, and you can
Yep.
actually pull people into your flow. You might notice that with people
Really?
around you. Yep. So when you're in
You
your
know what?
flow, you can pull other people into your flow.
Okay. Yeah. I've noticed that a lot, especially with my partner. If I if I wake up and I'm in a crummy mood and just like stomp down the stairs and I won't even have to say anything and they'll know. They'll know. And then they'll kind of like match. They'll kind of match that mood. And so I've become very aware of that. And
Yeah.
they don't they're unconscious of it. They don't know what they're doing. They're just I think it's just this kind of automatic thing that happens. But yeah, also in my so my background, I've always been a cook. I've always been a chef,
Okay.
kitchen manager or whatever.
Yep.
And my very favorite part. Oh, that's another thing I read in human design. My environment is in kitchens, and I
Yes.
saw that, and I was
Yes.
like, "What?" Yeah, it's so funny. But my favorite part of working in a kitchen was that teamwork and it's when you get in the flow state and you're just like in this moving meditation and everything just works and your brain just turns
There
off
you
and
go.
then
That's being in
the
your
next
flow.
time
Yep.
yeah, and the next time you look at the clock it's like 4 hours later and you're just like wow that was so cool.
There you go.
So
And when you're in that, that's when other people will get pulled into their flow as well, right? So the people around
okay,
you that might be working in the kitchen, like everybody's just
right.
getting into this flow, and you're like kind of the center stone of that. And I love that you said it meditative, because that's part of your environment as well. Meditative kitchens. Kitchens, what that
Hmm.
means is production environments. So yes, it could be a
Oh, okay.
literal kitchen, but
Mhm.
things where there's production happening. So
Yeah.
it's really healthy for your brain body system. So you can just see how you were guided to it, right?
Right.
It's
I
kind
know.
of
I thought it was just like I like to eat, so I might as well work with food. But but yeah. Oh, hey, I had a question. So
yeah,
with I've read in my chart that my eating time is like it's in
night.
dim light and
Yeah, yeah. You're a night
what does that
person.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
indirect, it's called. So your brain body system will be its most healthiest when you're not exposed to UV light.
Oh, okay. So when I'm
So
not like out in the sun and
yeah. And I would say for you to really watch um, make sure that you're covered when you're out in the sun, because your skin is just that UV light. It's your brain body system, so the body system as well isn't going to be as, let's say, healthy in a way. Actually, this is all about the health of the brain body system
okay.
in UV light, which is kind of counter to what we hear, right? It rubs
I
against
know.
what we often hear about, but you can play with that. Like, do you feel like you're just more sharp cognitively when it's dark
At
outside?
night?
Yeah,
Oh, definitely. For sure. For sure.
yeah,
Like we're doing this interview at noon and I work until 11 at night. So I'm usually up until like 3 in the morning.
yeah,
And just doing this interview, I'm kind of like a little bit of brain fog, kind of
yeah, yeah. So that's just something for you to take in, like the things that
okay.
you're really wanting to do. Maybe it's better to schedule them at night. It's tough
Yeah,
when you're in a
maybe.
family situation with partner and so on. But I have a colleague that has that. it's what we call indirect. So, and he has switched his whole schedule. So now he sleeps during most of the day,
Oh,
and he
okay.
lives his life basically at night.
Like nocturnal.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. You
that's
know, this is
that's
the ultimate night owl, you know, and
yeah,
it's
definitely. I've noticed sorry to interrupt
it's
you
okay.
once
I was
again.
just going to say it's correct for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed my psychic gifts kind of get stronger at night, which is I don't know if that's like a thing or what, but it like when I do sessions with people, I do
Yeah.
healing sessions. I
Yeah.
usually try to schedule them at night because I feel like I'm either stronger or like more sensitive.
Yes.
So for some
Yeah,
reason it
it's
just works
just
better.
your whole brain body system, how it operates is going to be
Okay.
better when there's no UV light. So,
Okay.
yeah, I
Interesting.
mean, a lot of people get, what do they call it? Seasonal affective disorder, during the
Hmm.
winter. Winter is a
Yeah.
fantastic time for you, right? There's more darkness here in our part of the
True.
world. So,
Yeah,
so it's
it's
actually
true.
really healthy for you. So it's, again, something to take in and experiment with. And, you start to see for yourself that, oh, yeah, these things are true. Okay, let's plan my life more so that I'm optimizing my
Mhm.
brain body system. And that's what that's about. You're also quad right, what we call quad right in your variable, like me. That's what I am. This is a newer, it's in the depths of the design, but excuse me, it's totally the opposite of the strategic beings
Oh
that we
gosh,
came
yeah.
from, right? We're not
Mhm.
here to be strategic, those of us who are quad right. We've learned a lot about strategy because we take in so much, but we have a passive brain body system. It doesn't need as much exercise. We have to be careful we don't overdo it. We are more the observers in our environment rather than interactive. So it's, what at the cafe watching everybody else,
Mhm.
versus being one of those people. We are peripheral, big picture people. We're not
Mm.
designed for focus. That's not our place of excellence. And a receptive mind versus strategic. Trying to be strategic for ourselves, not going to work well, but we take in everything that we're present to at some level. But it's like it's in a blender. And so we
Yeah.
can make connections that other people don't make.
Mm.
We need the people who are strategic, but we also need those of us who are big picture, receptive. We're just like a well of information if people ask us the right questions, right? It'll
Yeah.
seem like you don't know anything. I don't know. I don't know anything about that, right? You always have this
Mhm.
sense that you don't really know a lot until someone
Mhm.
starts to ask you the right questions and all this information comes out. And it's like, wow, I didn't even know I
Yeah.
knew all that.
That's exactly how it works for me too. That's so funny. Like, so the whole reason I started this channel, I didn't want to at all. I'm sure you've seen in my chart, my throat chakra is and my solar plexus. I'm like wallflower, back of the house, kitchen person, like don't interact with the public. But my guides were like, you need to start this channel. And I was very, very resistant at first. I really, really did not want to. But they told me they got kind of stern with me. They were like, how dare you deny people of your wisdom? And I thought to myself, I was like, what wisdom? What are you talking? Showing people how to flip burgers? Like, what am I going to teach anybody? But I've noticed, like, in these conversations that I have with people, like, the flow of has it always blows me away. I just love having these conversations. But also I'll listen back to the videos and I'll just be like, wow, I had no idea I had that in me. Like I
Yeah.
really do have some wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. It's there. It's like, oh gosh, when I was going through my training, one of my teachers would describe it as, someone who's strategic. It's like everything's compartmentalized, right? Even think of our school system, which is not designed for those of us who are quad right. Everything's in the focus compartments, right?
Mhm.
Terrible if you're a quad right person. We're more like Steiner school people. We're going to study a tree and just blend in the math and the geography and the sociology. Everything could just
Right.
blend together, right? And so, yeah, there is. all this wisdom that's there. And it's just about being present, being in your itness and allowing that to really shine for you. I mean, and you're someone who's going to have these real insights that come through that just drop in for you. And, you know, they come in these blocks of insights. They're not based in logic. They're not based in experience. It's part of the knowing circuitry. And over time with patients, they'll get structured, and then you can explain them and express them out in ways that can shift how people see something. It increases our tolerance. Like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Thanks so much, Gina, for opening me to that. Right. So, and then I would just watch for yourself this belief that I'm just a wallflower, because you've got the hermit opportunist profile. So you've got part of you, the part of you that you know about yourself, your personality side, we call it. We have two parts of our design. I'll just back up for a second. So we're consciousness and form. We know that. We're consciousness in form. The form has a design, and so does the personality, the soul, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, that's come into that form. So your personality side, what you know about yourself, is the hermit. You've got natural skills also, but the other side, the body side, is the opportunist, which is externalized. It is meant to interact with others. You have a circle of influence with your friends, your family, your network.
Okay. That makes sense. It really does. It does, because I've always felt like I'm like an extroverted introvert.
Yeah, you've got
you know
both
what I
those
mean?
sides. Yep.
Yeah. Wow, that's so funny. Like, I can have a whole lot of fun at a party, but it's pretty rare.
Yep.
You know, it's got to be like the right circumstances.
And the right people, right? It's best for you if there are people that you know. That's your circle of influence, right? The people that you know or that you get introduced to by others that come into your network, per se. You know, strangers, that's not so much your circle of influence. Those are fifth line people. Fifth line people, they're not good with family, friends, network. That's not their circle of influence, but they're really good with strangers.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense too. So what is, I know a little bit about human design. So what is the open centers versus like the activated, I guess? Like in the chart, they'll be white.
Yeah. So in human design, again, I'll just back up for people who might not know. There's a what's called a body graph that's got geometric shapes that are your energy centers. So Ra Uru, who was downloaded with this information, 1986, I believe it was. Part of the information he got was that in 1781, we mutated. We mutated from the 7-centered chakra system to being 9-centered beings. We like to hold on to the old. It's really hard to let go of the old. Right. So we still see a lot of that out there, but we're 9-centered now. We have 3 different awareness centers. So we have our mental awareness, right? We know that, analyzing, rationalizing, conceptualizing. That part of us has been really running the show. We've also got our splenic awareness, which operates in the now. This is what mammals have. This is what plants have. This is what insects have. They operate in the now, and it's very tied to our immune system and our lymphatic system, right? Think about what it does: health, well-being, survival. This is healthy for me or not, safe for me or not in that moment. It's there to help us survive. Okay. And then we have our emotional awareness, which is our newest awareness. Now, this is the solar plexus center, so it's different than what it is in the chakra system. It's both a motor that generates the emotional wave, right? We know emotions, woo, they go up and down on the wave. And it's also our emotional awareness center, our emotional intelligence. It's harder to get at because of that motor on top of it, but it is there. We can get the messages that are under the emotions that move through us. So the geometric shapes that you see in the body graph, some of them are going to be colored in, which means they're defined for you. That's the terminology we use. They are consistent and reliable activations, genetic traits that you have. The things that are white in your chart is where you have openness and you take in from other people that have that defined in their charts, or what's coming through the transit field, the cosmic weather.
Okay.
And you amplify. So it's a place where you're going to be conditioned. Now, we all get conditioned. We don't have to think of conditioning as something that, you know, oh, we got to avoid that. We got to put blocks up. You can't stop the neutrinos from coming through you. That's not going to work. You'd need, like, I don't know how many light years thick of lead to stop neutrinos from moving through. But you can increase your awareness. What I love about human design is it helps you to know yourself. I think this is really one of my missions in life, is to help people live authentically as themselves, not homogenized to the weather that's out there.
Right.
So we learn from those frequencies that move through us, but they can run us if we're not aware.
Right. Yeah, it's like being an empty bottle in the ocean. You're kind of just floating around, just kind of going with unconsciously with the energies in the
Yeah,
field.
the waves are taking you, right? Instead of
Mhm.
you, the bottle, saying,
Right.
wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be moving the way that wave's moving. I'm supposed to be going this way.
Yeah.
Right? And
Or to
following your
realize
own
that, like, yeah, or to realize that, like, these emotions aren't really all mine. Like, this can be collective. It could be a multitude of factors.
Yeah,
But
so for
learning
you,
that awareness is so
exactly.
important.
So what happens for you, you're someone who's undefined emotionally. You have the open emotional center. You take in and amplify other people's emotions about 200%.
Yeah.
Now, you don't know that when you're a kid, right? So who's going to get tagged as the emotional one? The person who
Oh
really
my
has the
gosh.
emotional center defined,
Always. Yeah,
or
yeah.
the one who's taking in and amplifying 200%? Right? Oh, you're so
Mhm.
sensitive. You're just being too sensitive about that. Right? This is
Yep.
the experience. And it's about 50-50. 50% of people have the emotional center defined, 50% of people have it undefined and are getting amped up on other people's emotions 200%. That's why the world's so emotional.
Mm.
But when you start recognizing it, it's like, oh, whoa, wow, I'm really feeling emotional today. You know, maybe you're around someone who has it defined and they're emotional. Or, for example, right now in the cosmic weather, it came in on December 2nd, it's going until January 27th. The transit field, the cosmic weather, is defining everybody's emotional center that doesn't have it already
Wow.
defined. So, again, we have a lot of emotionality out there in the world right now. So for you, if I was doing a reading with you, I'd be talking to you about, look, at the end of every day, you need to do a really good emotional cleansing. However you like to do that, having a waterfall of light move through you, setting up a vortex around you to spin it out, but
Okay.
just spend some time with yourself. What did I take on today? Ooh, yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that anger, I feel that sadness, or whatever it might be. That's not mine. Let
Exactly.
it go. I don't have to do anything about it. I
Mhm.
can recognize, oh, that person's really sad today, or that person's really angry. And instead of being, the collector of all of that, oh, that's mine, right? Be the
No.
window. Be the window. Let it blow through. Oh, it's not
Yeah.
mine, right?
Right.
Otherwise, we see this. Someone's angry. They come in. You take in an amplified 200%. Bam, right? Blast
Yeah.
it back at them. Then they get amped up, right? And so you can just see how it escalates. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to
I've
be that.
definitely seen that for sure. I have a job where I work in an adult foster home, and so I'm just noticing all of these different energies playing off each other and building, and people have been so tense lately. It's been ramped up 100% at least. And so coming home, and I just recently, I don't know how I just recently found this out, but I was bringing all of this, like garbage bags of yuck
Yeah.
home. And then my, like my dogs were starting to get sick. My partner was starting to get, angry and not feeling well. And I was like, what's going on? I feel like even my plants were starting to suffer. And I was like, this is crazy. What's going on? And I realized it's all the gross gunk that I've been bringing home. So like I'll come home, and then even just in the car, I command everything to leave. I'm like, just go back to where you came from. It's not mine. And I've noticed tons coming out of the crown. Like it
Yeah.
feels like it's like magnified up in the mental body, in the
Yeah.
emotional body. And yeah, I do a cleanse at night as well. But like just even before coming in the house, we'll do a quick little eviction.
Yeah,
So.
well, this is another one for you. I mean, you have the head center open, and the head center in human design is a pressure center. It's the pressure to think. But you have the next center down is the ajna, the seat of the mind. All our analyzing, conceptualizing, rationalizing, and so on, all the mental processes, our mental awareness. And so right now, we've had for quite a while now, Saturn sitting in one of the traits that connects. You have the electromagnetic, so it's creating the channel, it's activating your head center. So it's like pressure, right?
Yeah.
To think, to doubt in particular.
Yes,
I don't know if
so
that's
much
going to
doubt.
work.
Yep. Lots and lots of doubt, lots of headaches,
Yeah,
lots of sinus, and yeah, it's been a lot. So
yeah,
like I was telling you before the video, tons of pressure.
yeah.
Been feeling
Yeah, so this is the beauty, I guess, of knowing the design. And I put out a cosmic weather report every time it changes, about every 6 days, that you can look at and say, oh yeah, I've got these connections. That's going to impact me. Okay, I got to really be extra vigilant with my emotional clearing. Oh, I got to really recognize that pressure is coming from the transit field. I don't have to do anything about it if it's not correct for me.
just
Right?
recognize it.
Yeah. And maybe there's going to be wisdom that comes in, right? Maybe there'll be something that sacral center will get energized. Ooh, this is a doubt that I need to follow, right? This, it's about looking at the patterns in the world and what's not working, the theories that are out there, and going, I don't think that's right, right? And then delving into all the details and so on. You're someone in your traits that could come up to answers to the doubts. They're just potentials.
How do you mean?
Point. Well, when you doubt something, right? I don't know if that's working, right? You've got within your mental processes this logic circuitry that could come up with potential answers. Oh, well, maybe it works like this, right? When you think about the mental theorizing, coming up with new theories, right? First, we need the question, the hypothesis, the doubt. Like, I don't think that's working. Yeah, I don't think that's working either. Maybe it's this. Maybe it should be like this or this, right? So you're someone who has it within you naturally to potentially come up with answers. And then there's a part of the traits you don't have that other people will have. That's, ooh, of all those answers that are out there, what's maybe the best one? And getting all the details and facts behind it so that it can be expressed out as the theory. Here's how I think things work.
Okay.
And that's just a mental process, right? From there, we still have to do the experiments on the logical side. Is it tried, tested, and proven, right? So it's a process. But you have parts of it, and that's what your genetic gifts are, and you don't need to worry about the other stuff. You'll magnetize people in that have that. They'll take that, do with it what they want, and you don't even have to worry about it.
I think that part, that mental like solution sort of part of me, I think it corresponds with, I've always had this really strong urge to like build communities, I guess, or to like be a part of communities. Like when I was a teenager, I was one of my first jobs was working at a collective vegetarian cafe, and it was so much fun. It was so great because everything was like, you would get all of the members together to make these decisions. And I just thought that was such a great way to like run a business. And even like with the podcast, like I feel like my focus is to kind of act as a bridge and kind of bridge different factions, I guess, or different segments of like the spiritual community together. That's why I've been, I'll have a human design person or another person that talks to Sasquatch, or, just like all of these different people on the show to kind of bring people together so that they're not in these, I guess, bubbles. But yeah, I think that makes sense because I'm supposed to like find people, get them together, and figure out solutions.
Yeah, it's again your fourth line in your profile. The opportunist, the network. It's always going to want its community, its network. There's going to be a natural draw to that, right? Okay. And then you have your individuality, your individual mind that can come through with. We call that channel genius to freak. So if you allow the insights to form, So you can explain them. You're someone who I would recommend you have really good sounding boards in your life where you can just talk things out. And it's not about getting the other person's opinion. It's about hearing yourself.
Yeah.
And it'll get refined. And then it's like, ooh, now I can explain it really well. And when you can do that, now you can impact others, right? And that's natural for you.
Yeah, definitely. I found myself talking, using, not using, but like having conversations with friends about different things that I'm processing. And yeah, it's not even really it's kind of just about them listening. It's kind of more me working it out.
Exactly. And now that we bring that to consciousness, right, you can say that, look, you know what? Just like all I need is a sounding board. I actually don't need your input on anything. But if you could just like hold space for me to talk this through, right? Because sometimes you'll get everybody in my family except me has that particular channel. So I've learned to be a really good space holder for them just talking it out, right? And knowing that they're just working it through and it's okay. And I don't need to do anything about it, right? I could just relax and listen and okay. And they're going to get what they need to get out of expressing that. So, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, so we were just talking about like the different open centers and the developed centers. Is the point, not the point, but is it kind of like one of those things where you work to develop the centers, or do you learn to work with it being open? Do you know what I mean?
You're not trying to be what you're not. So your design never changes. It's more about releasing the conditioning so that you can live more and more authentically. So when you start to recognize, oh my gosh, I'm open to taking all these emotions in. Oh, I'm not that super sensitive person. I'm just reflecting other people's emotionality. Yeah, okay, I'm sensitive intuitively, but if you get my drift there around, that's not me. I'm actually, you are actually the lake. When you're by yourself, you're the lake, right? You don't have the ocean waves going up and down all the time as part of your natural process. For me, I do. I'm emotionally defined. I need to always, anybody who has the emotional center defined, that is your decision-making authority. You have to allow the emotional wave to pass through to get clarity. And so it's a slow process. Whereas you're just waiting for your sacral response. What energizes me? Or not, right? So it's a little bit faster for you. So when you let go of, oh, I don't have to do anything about this emotional energy unless I get a sacral response. I don't have to, one of the not self themes or shadow themes of that open center is avoiding conflict and confrontation. Because there's something within you that understands that this is going on. And that not self mind is going, oh my gosh, I don't want to be setting off these emotional people. Let's just be the peacekeeper. Let's not create any conflicts. I don't want to get them all riled up because then I got to deal with it. Right?
Yeah.
So there's always a theme there of avoiding conflict and confrontation. But there's some things you do have to confront. But the energization of your sacral center will let you know. It's never fun I guess there's some people that enjoy confrontation, but right, even though I'm designed for it, it's still not that fun for me. But yeah, there are some things that need to be confronted for you. Your sacral response is going to let you know. Otherwise, just let it blow through. Again, be that window.
Okay.
Or the pressure, like you're in a pressure sandwich in your design. You've got the head center open and you've got the root center at the bottom open. Right. So you take in that's the root center in human design is a pressure center and a motor. So it's that adrenalized drive to do. Right. So someone comes in with that activated, you take it in and amplify it. And you're the one rushing around trying to get everything done out of their pressure.
Okay.
Right.
Gosh, that makes so much sense.
And you will probably find, because I have it undefined, like driving. I use that as a great example. You will hate tailgaters. And in fact,
absolutely.
You could just have the open road where you can drive at your speed. That's like, so great.
Yep. True. It's so true.
Yeah. So it's just understanding, just because the pressure's there, I don't have to respond to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been feeling like a kind of like walking on hot coals lately, just like feeling all this pressure and just like kind of going through all of these mental loops of like, okay, all these different aspects of my life. Is this in alignment? Is that in alignment? Is that, am I supposed to change all this? And now it's such a relief to know that like I can look at it in a different way and just be like, okay, I'm feeling pressure. It's not necessarily mine. Feel into your sacral and make your decision from there instead of just going through the loops and being like, okay, what do I need to change?
Exactly. Oh, I got to respond to this, right? I got to figure things out for other people. I got to answer their questions. That's what the head brush is going to say. Really?
Yep.
Is that really how you're supposed to use your energy? Meanwhile, your sacral center is going, I don't have the energy for that. Right?
Yes.
But the mind's going, no, you need to answer their questions.
Okay.
So that's where we get taken off track. So I see understanding your design is kind of a shortcut to understanding who you are, where you're more likely to get pulled off track, so that you can start letting go of that more easily. And then we've kind of gone into some of the deeper depths. I mean, in design, there's a dream rave. Like, what's your design is different in the dream time. And it's actually very not self-conditioning. I'm going to offer a course on this at some point this year, the dream rave, because a lot of people, there's a lot of dream interpretation and so on out there, and all these great things coming through. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a whole side that's very heavily not self-conditioning that's happening in the dream time that can pull you completely off track of who you truly are.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? I mean, my dream time is it is intense, to say the least. It's very intense. Like I have really good security teams that I call in before dream time, because I've had a lot of interference before in the past in my dream time. And I do certain protocols now that I have a pretty, I feel like I have a bit more of an understanding of what's going on. But I know I do a ton of work in the dream time, like big grid work and stuff like that. So you want to talk about the dream time stuff?
Maybe just briefly. So we look at your true themes for your signature of success as a manifesting generator or a generator type is satisfaction. Right? Like there's just this sense of satisfaction. Yeah. That was great. That's things are going along. That's like, yes, I'm on track with being myself. Your signature of not self, or your not self theme, is frustration and anger.
Yeah.
Right. So if you've kind of made a decision that wasn't from your sacral response, you said yes to something out of this head stuff instead of how it felt and your sacral response, you're going to get off track. You're going to meet frustration.
Oh, definitely. Or resentment. A lot of resentment. Like, why did I do this? Oh, it's their fault. It worked for them.
Your nighttime theme is disappointment and surprise and delight. So there's going to be this background theme of, during the day, you may find, that was so disappointing. I'm always disappointed. That's not the true you. Do not let disappointment run your life. What shows you're on or off track is satisfaction and frustration, not disappointment and surprise and delight. And you'll probably find your dreams go from surprise and delight to disappointment.
Definitely.
Okay. That is the not self dream time conditioning that I'm talking about. So sometimes people will be, because this is kind of in the theme during your daytime, they can get kind of depressed, right? Like, why am I always so disappointed? And even just knowing this information, you're just getting conditioned to that. When you wake up in the morning, remind yourself, I'm a manifesting generator. My themes are satisfaction and frustration and anger, right? Okay.
I should be feeling angry right now.
Exactly. This disappointment thing, surprise and delight. Ooh, I love surprises. That is my nighttime conditioning. That is not the truth of who I am. Right. Just knowing that, there have been people who just getting that bit of information is like, I don't need to go to therapy anymore. Like, oh, that
It
just
all
got,
just falls
yeah,
away.
it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, now I understand. Right. And so that's what like we would get to through in the course is the specific activations you have at night, how
Mhm.
that shows up in the dream time. And then you keep your dream journal and can start to see these themes that are
Yeah.
playing out. And of course, the transit field can bring in different activations. So for example, for me, I'm not an alien dream person, but
Mm.
I remember very strongly like this, and it really was like, whoa, because I recognized it. I don't have alien dreams. And
Mhm.
then when I learned about Dream Rave, I went back because I had a journal on it and went, oh, that was actually being activated by the transit field.
Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had periods where I've had like intense alien dreams, like
Yeah.
for months on end.
Yeah.
Just all these different spaceship dreams and yeah,
Yeah.
it's
You do have an activation. I'm looking up this way because I have your chart on my big screen here. You do have an activation yourself that could bring that.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah. So it's just these different levels of conditioning. We've kind of touched on, there's a deeper level where you can see what environment for eating and that type of thing is in the charts as well. There's just layers and layers of deeper information for those that are called to it, that helps
Yeah.
your health, helps you understand how your mind operates,
Mhm.
how you're motivated, um, yeah, how you learn,
Mhm.
even just the information. Yeah, you're not a traditional school person. That's not,
No, no,
we
no,
all got
no.
put through it, most of us, right? We didn't have a choice,
Mm.
but we don't have to keep, we don't have to keep kind of trying to live to that anymore if
Yeah,
that's
I was
not
just
true to our design.
yeah, for sure. I just had a conversation with a coworker the other day about the school system and how um it seems like most creative types, at least like in my life right now, my friend group, we were all either super academic, like in the debate club, got, A plus pluses, or kids like me, I was put in like kind of the special kids classes because
Yeah,
I didn't learn in the traditional way. And
exactly.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I remember several times in school where it was like, okay, you need to really like you're going to get kicked out,
yeah,
And I
yeah,
finally ended up going into an alternative school and did much better.
yeah.
But I think teachers are starting to figure it out that, there's not just one way that kids
Yeah,
learn.
at least we're seeing some choices. Like I believe the Montessori schools follow kind of the Steiner method, more blended, right? So
Oh, yeah.
that's going to be
Okay.
better for people with a lot of right design minds.
Yep.
But people who are left, right? Those who are really left oriented, strategic oriented, the focus compartmentalize method is going to be really good for them. They know what they know and they just have to find their gaps. We don't
Mhm.
know what we know being quad right, and everything needs to be blended. And that's what
Mhm.
we're good at. And then again, making connections between these disparate things that nobody else sees.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just there is our shifts that are needed in our education systems and how we learn, and that's another place of support and understanding like a child's design. Oh yeah, they're not dumb. It's just not the right system, right? Those of us who are right
Exactly.
oriented, we're good in applied project group work, you know
Yep.
that really helps us. But the rote memory stuff, when you're sitting there with your little test paper and you got to have things memorized, oi oi
No,
oi, yeah, not
not as
good.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
well, I would love to talk about the human design of plants if you want to
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
that a bit.
So I mentioned earlier one of our most primitive awareness center. We've got it. The splenic center operates in the now, moment by moment. And plants have that too, which is why when we're out in nature, we often get a feel good, right? It's supporting our immune system. They've got that
Mhm.
splenic center that helps us to feel good, and literally can, as we know, many plants support our immune systems as well. So I mentioned, you know, us as humans, we are consciousness in form. If you look at a human design chart, you're going to see a black side and a red side. And the black represents the personality, spirit, soul, again, the eternal part of us, let's call it. And the red part represents our design, our form. This is, from a human design perspective, what the big experiment is about. Can you get consciousness into form? Plants are the first consciousness in form on this planet. They have their form, but they also have a consciousness, a personality, just like we do. Just a different box, a different form that they're in. You could take their personality and put it in our form, and now it's going to operate just like us.
Wow.
Right? So personality is a personality, but they're constrained by their form. Right? Our forms have limitations, their forms have limitations. So part of the information that Ra was given was the design of plants, also of insects, fish, reptiles, mammals. Now, plants, their design, yeah, it's different than us, but we share those gates. How a plant interprets those activations, those traits within it, is different than how, a little bit different than how our being interprets it, but still they're supportive of each other. As they're emitting their frequency, we take it in, and it can support us on our path. The real interesting thing about plants is, if we're really homogenized, you know, we're stuck in the programming per se of society, of the transit field, they will enhance that homogenization.
Oh, okay.
If you are breaking out of that, if you are really becoming your authentic self, plants will support that. So it's a really
they'll support whatever you do, pretty much.
Exactly. Most plants are what we call reflectors. All their centers are open. So when you stand with a plant and you just be with it, it's going to reflect through those activations back to you something of yourself. But as you start connecting more and more with plants, they do have a personality. So I co-teach a course on plant communication with Godly Willer, and we teach people. It helps them to open up their intuitive capacities to start communicating with plants, that they do have a personality, right? And we start just with a house plant, right? Just take one of your, or a plant out in your yard, something that's close to you, something you feel drawn to, right? Again, they have their own personality, so you don't want to pick the grumpy plant. Right? If you get a sense in connecting with that plant like it's not interested, leave that one, right? Find one that really wants to connect with you. And they're sentient beings, just like us. And so it's part of our mission to really help people awaken to that. And there's lots of people that are working in that domain, really helping people to open to understanding that plants are sentient beings. And they can be such great supporters for us. They are the ultimate sacrificers, right? They came first. They established the aura of the planet, right? The atmosphere of the planet. Without them, we couldn't be here, right?
We wouldn't have oxygen.
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't be able to breathe the air. They provide our food, our shelter, right? They contribute to not just our lives, but they're first, because insects can't live without them. Reptiles, fish, birds can't live without them. Mammals can't live without them, right? They are the foundational beings that needed to be here to support any other type of life. So amazing gratitude to the plants. It's something we can really, you know, even if you don't feel like you can communicate to the plants, you can go out and just love them up and express your gratitude for them, for what they provide, and really come into a relationship with them. And again, even at the fundamental level, just being with plants will help you to feel good. because
Right.
of
Yeah,
that
I
splenic
feel like
activation.
yeah, I feel like even the most shut down person, if they're in a room full of plants, it'll make them feel better.
Yeah.
Give them
Yep.
a sense of
Yeah.
peace
Or
and,
bring up things, right? Sometimes when people are just with a plant and just being with it, they might start to cry.
mhm.
Right? They just
Yeah, 'cause
might
they're so
realize there's
beautiful.
this sadness or this grief that needs to be released out of their being that they just had never
Mhm.
had the chance to process before. And that
Wow.
plant's there helping them to let
Huh.
that go. So you go with, go into the forest or go be with your plants, house plants, plants in your backyard, plants in your garden, no expectations, and just be with them and allow whatever wants to move through you. You can um, you can have plants that I'm going to call it manipulate, and people take manipulation so negatively, but we manipulate plants all the time, right? We decide when we're going to plant our gardens,
Mhm.
right? So it's this kind of, I'm going to call it kind of a positive or a partnership manipulation in a way. If you understand the design of plants and you watch the cosmic weather, you can actually have plants that will have certain activations that can help you hold to your convictions, activations that can help you open your acoustic intuition,
Huh.
activations that can help you, as I mentioned before, individuate, right? Become your authentic self,
Mhm.
activations that can help you um, know what behavior is the correct behavior for a given situation.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's something I'm putting a course together on right now that I'll probably offer going into the spring. So if people want to plant, and I'll put together a calendar for the year of when the activations are coming in, so
Mhm.
that you could potentially plant and know that that plant will have that frequency
Right.
embedded within it.
Yeah, I definitely wanna sign up for that. I'm a big gardener and, yeah, I feel like that would be really helpful to have a better understanding of who I'm co-creating with, right?
Yeah, and that is it.
Hmm.
We're creating partnerships where we are co-creating with the plant community. That's what the plant community wants, right? For us to recognize their sentience, that they we have a lot of people when I do the plant communication course, when Godleave and I do it, we just recently added a new bonus to the course because we were finding that people were getting so fearful of like harvesting, right?
Yeah,
Like, oh my
I
gosh, what am
definitely
I
went through
doing,
that.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So when we create this partnership, we start to understand that as splenic beings, they're not holding on to stuff.
Okay,
They
good.
operate in the moment. Yes, they have memories in the same way that our immune system has a memory built into it.
Mhm.
There's amazing experiences showing that plants can recognize people. They can recognize people with bad intentions because that's a
Mhm.
splenic thing, right? Healthy for me or not. And ones with good intentions, but that they are here to sacrifice. I don't want people to be like, oh my gosh, I'm walking on the grass, right? Like, oh
I
no.
know.
or
I was
oh no, when I
afraid to
went
mow
by
the
that
lawn.
flower, like,
Yeah.
I accidentally broke it, and
Mhm.
just having all this guilt. That's not helping the plant community,
Right.
carrying
Yeah.
that.
When I first started communicating with plants and like asking them if I could pick them and
Yes, you do want to
I
do
would
that.
get the response and everything. But then I started getting really nervous about mowing the lawn and like I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have a million dandelions out there. I am going to murder all these poor dandelions and they're all going to hate me." And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they're
They don't
not
hold on
they're
to
not
that
holding
stuff.
it
They
against you.
recognize that, as I say, they are sacrificial beings. We don't want to take advantage of them in a negative way. We do want
Right.
to understand, again, they've got their personalities, but um, it's under the ground for most of them,
Mhm.
right? Where that sort of root of their consciousness, in a way, is located.
Mm.
Um, they do grow back And some plants, when you start talking to them, they're asking, like the pruning helps them, right? If they were in their natural environment instead of a garden, they would have people nibbling on, not people, but animals that are nibbling on them, right?
Sure.
And nature has its natural balance, and it's us to start to work with that flow and that balance of nature.
Okay.
Cultivate and harvest in a sustainable way, work with the plants in partnership. Then we're taking in that beautiful co-creative energy, consciousness into our being as we consume that food.
Right. And I try to explain this to people, they're like, why are you planting tomatoes? It's going to cost you like $200 for all this dirt and the plants and the fertilizer and the water and the blah, blah, blah. You could just go to the store and buy some tomatoes for $1. And it's like, no, there's a relationship that you build with them. There's a relationship, and it feels so good to be able to, pick this tomato from the plant, say thank you to the plant, and then go inside and make your sandwich and just enjoy it. And like it feels like you're enjoying the co-creative process on a different level, as opposed to just going to the grocery store and buying a bunch of tomatoes.
Exactly. And a lot of, you have to watch at the grocery store with the GMOs, right? The genetically modified.
Oh, yeah.
Those are cloned. When I talked about plants will homogenize us, it's especially those plants, right? They are designed to be clones.
Wow. I never thought about it on that level.
Clones.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. But if we're planting ourselves, especially if we're using heritage, seeds and so on that have, kept their individuated nature, that supports us in individuating as well as being our authentic selves.
Okay.
So so much that the plant community can support us with, beautiful energy for the most part. Again, don't be surprised. And then it kind of gets to be funny. Like, you go up to a tree and it's like, no, it's either not ready, right? It takes a little bit of, going and appreciating it for a while before it will open up to you. And other ones are real chatty, right? And they're ready. Have you ever seen or heard the Music of the Plants device?
No.
So I have one, and I've collected music from all over the world. It comes with a little ground and then a little clip that you put on the leaf of the plant.
Okay.
And then the box, and it converts the electrical signal moving through the plant to music.
Oh,
you can choose your music. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And I've had experiences where I've been, I've had my device with me and I'm like, I'm not feeling into it today. And then I'll come out and this plant's calling me. I want to sing to you. Right? And so I go hook it up, and immediately, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but these ones will just be like, their music coming through, and it's just beautiful. And there's a whole community in Italy, in Damanhur, that they've been working. That's where the device was created. They've been working with this plant music for a long period of time. There are musicians that have cultivated relationships where they'll play a tune and the plant will play it back. Like, it's pretty amazing.
What? Oh my gosh. I got to check this out. That's crazy. I love that.
So we have all these ways and relationships. And so now in some of my meditations, like in our plant communication course, I have a couple of guided journeys in there where I include the music of the plant that's coming in that we're connecting with. And it's just another level, another way to open our hearts to the plant kingdom, to their healing. One of the things that Ra talked about, and I totally believe in, is that we can eventually do away with, the medicines, the pharmaceutical, medicines, and you might have in your home, we know so much already about the medicinal characteristics of so many plants, that you would have your little set of plants. Oh, this one's for my immune system. This one helps keep me calm. This one is an energizer, right? And you go and you water them and you interact and you touch them and you cultivate your relationship, and they're helping you with any of the healing that you need, right? Instead of having to break them down into, like, I love essential oils, but there's so much plant material that goes, is used up in them. So again, in this sustainable way, can we start just cultivating these relationships that
Right.
are also healing
So
relationships?
instead of ingesting and
Yeah,
making, wow, that blows my mind. That
yeah.
is
Instead
so
of taking a
cool.
pill, for your headache,
You just
oh,
connect.
you've got your plant partner who already from all the
Oh,
medicinal characteristics that are out there. This is one that helps relieve headaches, and you start interacting with it and cultivating that relationship, and it
I
can help you
love
with it.
that. That's amazing. Yeah, yeah. Man, I'm gonna have to do some thinking about that. That is so cool. And I definitely want to take your course. I
Yeah,
uh
absolutely.
I started experimenting. So I have a big collection of organite, and
Yeah,
I have a
nice.
friend who built me this frequency generator where it's a big piece of organite with a big crystal with, the copper wrapped around it in the middle,
Yeah,
and you can play frequencies through it. And so I bought a plant tent, and I had some habanero plants, and I would play 528, the heart
yeah,
frequency to the plants all the time. And they seem to really love it. So
yeah,
I love doing all those experiments with plants.
yeah. What we call inanimate objects like crystals, they have a design. It's just a single gate, but it happens to be the gate that we interpret as universal love.
Oh,
They are open to life.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they can open our hearts to, yeah, to
I
universal
love
love,
that.
which is beautiful. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that. That's so cool. Oh shoot. Well, we're at 1 hour and 6 minutes. Do
Wow.
you let's see. Do you have any parting words, I guess?
Oh gosh, I
Any
would just
amazing
encourage people to whatever you get drawn to really cultivate a deep embodiment, right? We're here to be in the body. I see so many people that are trying to escape out,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We're here to be in the body. Your body is a beautiful vessel for your personality, your spirit, your soul. That's another
Mhm.
relationship that you want to cultivate. Your body is what knows what's correct for you, it has it
Yeah.
within it. Um, and so allow it to guide you and support you in really living your authentic self. Of course, reach out if you're interested in human design, if you're looking for a reading or interested in the plant communication courses. On my website, I do have just a basic free understanding human design basics
Mhm.
course to understand the chart, and a little bit about the background of human design. But there's also, excuse me, a free download on my site for connecting with 4 different plant kingdom beings that help
Mm.
hold healthy boundaries. I'm going to update that one pretty soon, but yeah, that will get you onto, either of those would get you onto my list. So you get the weather reports coming out, can start to understand the frequencies that are out there. But also, if you're interested in the plant communication or the plant design courses that I'll have coming up, you'll get notification of those as well. And yeah, if you're in this community, I know you're working towards living your authentic self and connecting with the magic in our world. And I encourage
Mm.
you to just keep following that path.
That's so awesome. I love that. I'll have to say that those the weather reports have really changed my understanding of like how I interact with the planetary alignments, with the collective energies, with the energy field in general. And it's really helped me come out of that kind of, I guess I'll say it, a little bit of victim mentality where you're just
Yeah,
feeling like you're just, blowing around in the wind and getting tossed around by the universe. And it's really helped me to understand it a bit more and to be like, no, this is not all mine. I can
yeah,
focus on myself and not have to worry about, what A, B, or C, whatever's coming up. So I
yeah,
really recommend subscribing to her newsletter. And yeah,
yeah. Thank you.
that's yeah, that's that. Okay, well, I guess we'll end it, and I'll put all of your information on the bottom, like in the description box, so
Sounds
people
great.
can get a hold of you. And if you guys are still around listening to this, if you liked this conversation, if you could subscribe and maybe share, like, whatever, all those good things, it really helps the channel. And I think that's it.
Awesome.
So
Well,
I
thank
will,
you, Gina. That was wonderful. And thanks
yeah,
everyone
I
for
had,
listening in.
hey, yeah, for sure. Here, hang on. I'm going to end the recording. Hold on.